me share my screen. Okay, so we go by group 1 first, okay, from what you have submitted. So this is very important because what you plan to ask, okay, the structure of your questionnaire will basically determine or, it will affect what you can analyze, okay, and whether you can actually achieve the objective of your study, okay, and then, and also the way you ask questions. And when I go through not just group B lah, okay, and also group A, my class at 11:30 kejap lagi. Okay, so I think some groups, I'm not sure what is going on, whether you don't pay, whether you don't do enough discussion, you don't refer to past year's thesis or journals, because the structure of your questions seems like you create the questions, many of the questions on your own. Okay, which I remind many times. Okay, do not create your own questions. Use existing questions, and if you want to modify a bit here, a bit there to suit the scope of your study, if you want to cover a bit on COVID-19 issues, you can add one or a few questions on that. Okay, but generally the overall structure of the questions will just be based on existing questionnaire, so that you don't have problem to actually construct the questions. Okay, so first for group 1, okay, so I think not much issue, okay, because I think the topic is pretty much straightforward. As I think one of the most common topic lah, I think I get from group A and also group B, and I think you get some other contoh past year's thesis, okay, on this particular subject. Okay, so the focus is on SAFB, and just to remind you guys again, okay, whatever population of your study, you must get the actual numbers of the students. So the focus is on SAFB, so you must get the actual number of students of SAFB, and you must also be able to break down according to the courses. Okay, just like what we discussed before. So if there are 4 or 5 programs, so we need to know how many students belong to each of the programs, so that when you want to distribute your questionnaire, at least you have some some reference point. Okay, how many students represent from each of the relevant courses. Okay. So for group 1, you are doing on this. Basically, I don't want to discuss too much on the theoretical on chapter 2. Okay, on except if you don't even provide any literature, any discussion on the theory, because I think there are some groups, okay, they don't have good discussion on the theoretical part. Okay, as you all know by now, okay, that the chapter 2, what is required is the first part should be the theoretical discussion on the topic, on the theory that is related to the scope of your thesis, of your project, okay, and then the second part will be the empirical review, okay, past studies, past journals, okay, past thesis, okay, mainly past journals lah, okay, discussing on your issue. So for group 1, I think my main issue is on because you are focusing on SAFB student, okay. So I think there's not much to ask actually on the background, except, okay, please include also question on what is the current CGPA, okay, because this information will be useful, okay, when you want to do the analysis later on, okay, whether the pointer or CGPA will affect, okay, will affect the decision to on the career choice, okay. But I think the rest of the questions, I think not much to comment, because I think this is existing questions from past study, okay, which I think one of, or maybe you get the sample from the Google Drive of the thesis, okay, which I shared before. So I think on the questionnaire part, tak ada banyak isu lah. Cuma what maybe you might want to add 1 or 2 more questions, okay, on each of the component, peer pressure, future, because I think as it is a bit too I mean, you only have around 5 questions for each of the component. So please add at least 1 or 2 more questions for each of the component. Okay, what question you want to ask again? Okay, go to past thesis or past journals. Look at, because this topic is very common, so there is no issue for you to find any additional questions. Okay, you might even want to relate a little bit on if there is anything to do on COVID-19. Okay, your career choice during, if maybe you want to add maybe one more section, section E, for example, okay, on the COVID-19 issue, okay, whether the COVID-19 will affect your decision on what career you want to choose. So that will make the analysis more interesting. Okay, because I think the questionnaire, you don't have much problem because you just simply use the existing one. Okay, so please add. So group 1, mana sini group 1? Group 1, mana group 1 punya members? Okay, Nazatul Hain, Emilia, Tam and Sihun. Okay, yang Sihun. So the 4 of you lah, okay, take note on that. Okay, and then add more questions, a few more questions lah on each section here. Okay, so I would like even to see that you add one more section, maybe section E, on the COVID-19. Okay, how it actually affects the decision of. Okay, so this part you need to find lah the latest project lah. I mean anything that you can relate on whether the COVID-19, okay, will have any effect on how it decides, it affect the career choice. So I think this is for group 1, okay, which I think has the less or the least comment lah. I think because one reason is because of the topic is pretty much very common and you can get the example of the questionnaire from the thesis. Okay, so for group number 2, okay, so this is I think where so group number 2, Fabian, Jivesri, Faiza and Aldin Dafa. Okay, so for group number 2, you are doing on okay, first I don't even know what is the focus of your what is the population. So mana group number 2? Jivesri, Fabian? Fabian?
Yes, sir.
So business student ni siapa ni? Who are the business students?
Business admin.
No, because we have COB, College of Business, and under COB there are many other courses. So business student is too general. You need to specify, for example, College of Business. So this is why I put this question mark here. I don't know what you mean by business student. Okay, so okay, so you need to modify this. Okay, but the main problem is I think on your questionnaire lah. Okay, because your topic is on entrepreneurial intention, which I think again ada banyak contoh lah. Okay, there are many examples where you can find online or from the past thesis or journals. Okay, so my main issue is with your questionnaire, which I think many of the questions is you construct on your own. First, even the questionnaire, I don't even know which college or school are you referring to because there is no mention here. Okay, so because you are focusing on UUM, so which part of UUM, which college are you focusing? If you're focusing on the whole of COB, then there must be question on what, whether the student come from SAB, from accounting, from any other school, or if you're just focusing on SAB, for example. Okay, because you need to focus, to have a more focused issue lah. So again, on the background, okay, what is the college, what is the school the student belongs to, and then again maybe question on what is the CGPA, the pointer also must be included. Okay, because CGPA of student also will influence the decision to engage in entrepreneurial activity. Okay, so this is I think many of the problems begin, okay, for your group. Okay, I don't even understand what question you are actually asking. I always avoid risk in purchasing. Purchasing what? Okay, because suddenly you start on this risk-taking propensity when making, because you must remember these are undergraduate students who don't even start business yet. Okay, because you are, unless you are only focusing on students who have business. Okay, so I'm ready to take risk when making decision in business. So I'm not sure if the student does not even involved in business. Okay, because there is no question whatsoever here in your background. Okay, because generally the question can be asked to any students that belong to, let's say, COB. Okay, but that does not mean that they are students who are currently doing business. Okay, and then I prepared step when I got worst possible entrepreneurship. I don't even know what this mean. You all soalan ni you all buat sendiri ke macam mana? Fabian and the gang.
Buat sendiri sir.
Kenapa you all buat sendiri? Takkan tak ada contoh soalan from past years. This topic is very common kan?
Ya.
Saya dah ulang benda ni dah beribu-ribu kali dah saya dah ulang. Don't create your own questions because you end up having problem like this lah later on. Okay, topic on entrepreneurial intention ni is very common. Okay, banyak sumber-sumber dekat internet, dekat Google sana that you can find. Okay, so many of the questions is, I think, is because you must remember when you distribute the questionnaire, although the questionnaire is not bukan you are going to do the real data collection lah, but even though you ask your friend, your group mates to answer, okay, but that does not mean that every student is currently doing business. Okay, if you ask, let's say, even the student in our class, I think maybe perhaps 90% of the students are not even doing any business. So how do they actually answer this question? Okay, I will take calculated risk in entrepreneurial activities. If your respondent are actually those who are currently doing business, then lain lah. Those who have shops that do part-time jobs, okay, part-time jobs or part-time business. I mean, not job lah, business lah. Okay, but many of the question I think is not whether it's confusing. For example, this one about risk in purchasing what? Okay. So I always thinking of business opportunity. What do you mean by opportunity? I mean, so many of the question I think I prefer to be an employee. Benda-benda ni saya tak faham lah. I mean, I don't understand how you actually, create this question. I prefer to have business-minded friends and connection on what? So the list goes on lah. Okay. So entrepreneurship, education. Okay, even this question high school we don't use the term high school dekat Malaysia. It's either primary school or secondary school. Okay, and even at secondary school ada ke subjek keusahawanan dekat when you in secondary school ada ke? Fabian? Oh, the rest. Mana bagi yang lain ni semua senyap je. Jivesri. Jivesri mana pergi? And Faiza. Ni you all ni pergi mana ni? Tak ada dalam kelas ke apa? Jivesri. Mana Jivesri? Log in tapi tidur lah. Faiza mana Faiza? Pun tak ada juga. Ni Faiza.
Yes, sir.
You all punya soalan ni macam mana you all buat ni? Because if you get the wrong question or even the question is not, I don't have time to check every time you submit your questionnaire, then I have to correct again. Okay, because that's why I keep on reminding you all from the very early semester. Choose a topic where you can find existing questionnaire and modify accordingly lah. Okay, so soalan macam ni, kita ada ke? I mean, when you ask question like this, okay, do you have entrepreneurship education in high school, in secondary school dekat Malaysia? Ada ke? Ada Faizah? Saya dah lama dah tak pergi sekolah menengah lah. Tapi setahu saya memang tak ada lah.
Tak
You all
ada.
subjek ke? Subjek keusahawanan?
Tak ada.
I mean, setahu saya tak ada lah spesifik keusahawanan diajar kan at school. Because maybe this question you take from even the word high school, that means that this question maybe below this research was done maybe in the US, in a foreign country lah, not in Malaysia for sure, because Malaysia you don't use the word high school. Okay, but again the word on entrepreneurship education, kita mana ada ajar subjek ni dekat sekolah menengah. Okay, paling kuat pun ada ekonomi asas, tapi the rest is BM, BI, English, Math, Science, all the common subject lah, but not entrepreneurship. So how do you expect to, I mean, this question to be relevant to your respondent when this entrepreneurship education is not even relevant in the Malaysian context? Okay, so that's why I put here must be based on Malaysian scenario. Okay, you all tak boleh buat soalan and then tanpa fikir balik whether the question is relevant. Okay, if you get question from overseas study, okay, study that was done, so there are some questions that you can use for Malaysian context. Okay, some you cannot use depending on the topic lah. Okay, topik yang yang general that can be applied to any country or any demographic, no problem. But if the question is not relevant to the Malaysian case, okay, especially on entrepreneurship, okay, if you are asking, if the focus is among undergraduate business student yang currently doing business, but that's why from your questionnaire, saya pun tak tahu you all punya fokus dekat siapa. Okay, because you mentioned the word undergraduate business student, meaning these students are not even, they are still learning lah dekat UEM kan. Okay, but whether they belong in COB, what subject. Okay, so my comment is very simple lah. You have to redo most of the questions here, okay, and then and reflect the Malaysia punya scenario lah. If you're focusing on the UUM case, you need to tanya lah, get some information from your if you got friends from that is doing business admin ke apa ke, so whether what kind of information, what kind of background or things that they teach, okay, among other graduate business admin student in UM, because you are economic student, you cannot simply create question without even knowing, okay, what undergraduate business student are learning. But again lah, because this is on the entrepreneurship intention, whether they want to engage in business. Okay, so many of the questions, for sure, I think this one you create on your own, because from the language, from the keyword use is very banyak yang tergantung lah. Saya pun tak faham apa benda yang you all tanya ni. I always thinking of business opportunity. Yang ni pun saya dah tahu dah, memang you all goreng sendiri je ni. Okay. So saya tak banyak nak komen lah, because benda ni, but if one or two question is problematic, it's okay. Okay, but if every section is problematic, okay, meaning that you don't even understand what you are trying to do. Okay, and I think the main reason is you are not focusing on my lecture. You don't pay attention to my previous lectures. I keep on reminding, jangan buat soalan sendiri. Inilah masalahnya berlaku when you create your own question. Okay, end up you have to redo, even maybe have to change your scope or whatsoever lah. Okay, banyak benda yang silap dalam questionnaire ni. Okay, Faizah, Fabian, diversity dah hilang dah. Okay, because the problem with online learning like this, okay, it's not like when we learn face to face. Okay, we can discuss this hands on, but when you do online like this, okay, it's quite limited how I can correct your mistakes. So the only way is discussing through Webex here, and macam ni lah, bila saya panggil nama, you all tak nyaut. Ada yang nama ada tapi tak keluar suara. So when you redo this questionnaire, okay, maybe saya tak ada masa lah, saya nak check balik because we need to carry on with the lecture. I cannot spend another lecture just discussing on your questionnaire alone. Okay, but you need to proceed lah. But again, if you come up with a poor questionnaire which end up not being able to answer your research objective, soalan tu soalan yang salah ataupun tidak, I mean not accurate enough lah, the wordings, the to avoid all this, the easiest way is to find established journals, journal that that provide good questionnaires that you can refer to, that doesn't have any language problem, the question are easily understood. Then you all boleh pakai lah. But if you create your own question, to things like this akan berlaku lah. Saya pun tak faham apa benda you all nak tanya ni. Okay. So I will always do my own research about potential business model. So what model are you referring to? Saya pun tak tahu you all berujuk pada mana soalan ni. Okay. If you are asking student yang memang buat business admin, memang diorang ada belajar, they actually learn for business model. Okay. Then the targeted student should understand. But if you are asking random student from COB, that many of the questions I think is just not relevant or confusing. Okay. Because when I look at your your chapter 2, okay, chapter 2 on the entrepreneurship, so these are, I think we have at least one thesis from the Google Drive that focus on this entrepreneurship intention. At least one. I think there are dua ataupun tiga kalau tak silap saya. Ada kan dalam Google Drive tu kan? Faiza?
Ada.
Tu kenapa you tak pakai questionnaire tu ataupun tak cari yang proper punya questionnaire? Because from the writing, I know many of these chapters is taken directly from the thesis. Okay, because when I look at the questionnaire, and the writing in the thesis, okay, but please bear in mind, okay, whatever that you submit must go through turning in. Okay. So for draft, kalau if you want to copy and paste at this stage, is still okay lah. But in the final submission, okay, make sure that whatever that you submit, okay, the turning in, must. I think the maximum threshold I think is 30%. Okay. In fact, when I asked last week to the coordinator, they only put 20% according to HEA. Okay, 20% similarity index. Okay, but just to be more lenient on the student, okay, I will allow maximum 30% of similarity index on your turning in. Okay, even that, so whatever question that you want to put must be easily understood. Okay, and here for group number 2, I don't even know what is the population of the study. Okay, who are the focus group? Okay, so how do you plan to take your sample if you are only focusing on business student? Okay, there must be a population target. Okay, I keep on reminding many times, if you want to do on the whole of UUM, then you must cover all the 3 colleges. If you want to focus on COB, then you must cover on all the relevant schools lah under COB. If the focus on SAFB, then you must cover all the different programs under SAFB. Okay, but if you're doing outside of UUM, let's say in Kedah, you must specify what area of Kedah. Okay, or any part lah in Malaysia for that matter. Okay, there are some groups, I think from group A in 11:30, kelas saya yang kejap lagi pukul 11:30 tu. Okay, there are some groups who are doing on Petaling Jaya, on certain part in Kelantan. Okay, so it depends on their own creativity. Okay, I don't want to specify that you must do only on UUM. Okay, but if you choose to do outside UUM, then you need to know lah what is the population. Okay, that's why I remind this many times, because at the end of the day, you need to know who are your target, who is your target population, and how many respondents, what is the population size. That one you must get the actual numbers, okay, depending on the scope lah of your study. Okay, so group 2, okay, banyak ya you all kena buat, okay, and I think the same thing with group number 3 jugalah. 3 ke ni? 3. Ni pun sama juga ni. Kumpulan 3. Okey. Sakinah, Irfani, Atirah, Ifan Rizki. Okay, so group number 2, you all buat tentang apa tadi? Lupa dah. Okay, so you are doing on something on ini is a revised topic. The initial one you change last minute and then you end up doing on this academic performance. Okay, the thing about topic like this is that it's not really related to economic issues. Okay, dia banyak benda on psychology, on social science. It's not really on economic or even topic related to economic issues. So I think that's where the problem starts lah. Okay, when you focus, for example, on family background, okay, which saya pun tak tahu jadi teori ke, because this is not really a theory. Okay, what you mention is just how family background can influence. So ini bukan teori theoretical. When you mention theory, apa teori yang digunakan? What is the actual theory? Okay, for example, here you mention theory of John Dewey, which is again lah, this is nothing to do on economics or even related to business. Okay, so the best is to use theory related to economy. Kalau tak ada on economy, some theory that relate to at least something to do on business. For example, the entrepreneurship intention, apa tu? For example, like group number 2 on a factor affecting career choice. At least adalah benda on something to do on business, economy, something to do with finance. Because these are very at least topic that can be related to our school, okay, SAHB in general. So that will be the target topic lah, okay. But once you start doing topic that is remotely tak ada kaitan sangat dengan on our SAHB punya courses, okay, whether it's economic, finance, banking or agribusiness, then you all mula buat benda-benda yang tak relevant lah, and you don't even understand what you are trying to actually analyze. Okay, here for example, in your literature review, I don't know where you get this idea from to put the actual table of the study. Okay, you never do this in literature review. Okay, literature review only 1 paragraph, 2 paragraph the most for one study. Okay, you don't put the actual table, okay, in a literature review. So again, this shows that you don't really, if you have done your homework, meaning you go through the thesis, journals, okay, you will never find a literature review having this kind of information, okay, included in the discussion. Okay, but the main problem is on the questions lah. Okay, kejap. Okay, siapa group 3? Sakinah, mana Sakinah? Ada? Juga.
Ada, sir.
So soalan ni sama you all buat sendiri.
Yes, sir.
Kenapa you all buat sendiri? Tak ada soalan-soalan banyak. There are so many questionnaires on the internet, on even the Google Drive which I provided. There are a lot of example of questionnaires that can be used as guideline. Okay. So I think the problem is when you change this topic last minute, you punya sedap saja lah, okay. Which is I don't even understand many. I know what you want to ask, but at the end of the day, okay, this is not something that you can. This is not the format of a. This is not how you construct a questionnaire. Okay, online learning, understand and easy to conduct meeting with lecturer. What do you mean by meeting? Okay, and then easy to find source for your assignment. What do you mean by finding source for your assignment? I mean, I'm sure I think it's related to the material, okay, not source lah. Okay, but when you want to ask questions, the question must be related to the theory or existing studies. You cannot use the orang kata the apa tu apa the subtopic to learning environment, but then you create all the questions on your own. Okay, if you are using existing study, for example, theory on how learning environment can influence the performance, academic performance, you must use existing studies on what are the common questions that are relevant to learning environment. You cannot, tak boleh kamu cipta soalan sendiri. Yes, you can add some new questions, okay, but generally you must the question must be related to the past studies. Okay, what are the common questions in the literature? That's why we have literature review. Okay, when you go for literature review, then you know what are the questions from past study that is related to learning environment. Okay, and you use that question to include in your study. Yes, you can add few more questions. Okay, but you need to justify how those questions are actually relevant. Okay, and as far as this question concern, banyak yang saya tak faham lah apa benda yang you all nak tanya tu. For example, curriculum activity. Okay, this clearly I think is you create questions on your own. Okay, if the student are studying from home, okay, many of the questions are not even relevant. Okay, and many of the students, they don't even join many of the curriculum activity except for co-curriculum lah on Saturday tu. Okay, but other projects like that you commonly have during the normal face-to-face, okay, tak ada. Okay, but what are the contribution to the program that you join? Okay, these are all I think yelah soalan that you create lah on your own. Committee members, participant, other state, what is the impact of the program to you? So curriculum activity ni you all dapat tajuk ni daripada mana? This subheading ni, learning environment, curriculum activity, and then family background. So where do you get this heading from? Is it from previous thesis or what? Macam mana? Suara you all macam ni bergema.
From thesis 55, sir.
Okay, but the questions ini you all cipta sendiri lah kan?
Yes, it's on our literature review also.
Yelah,
I mean the curriculum activity, the learning environment. But the question we do it by ourselves.
Itu yang masalah tu. Bila you all create the heading you get from past study, but then the components when you create on your own, itu masalah tu. Some questions are not even relevant to be put under because when you got section like all the question in Likert scale, suddenly section C you get question in this format. Okay. Okay. So many of, because you must remember this is during COVID time, meaning that students are learning from home. Many of the questions that you for example, like what is the impact of the program to you? Skill development, new members. I pun tak tahu apa maksud new members ni. Beneficial knowledge is what do you mean by the beneficial knowledge? Okay, you cannot define the options of answers that you get, that you have in the questionnaire is very important. You cannot simply create question. Maybe you understand what you want to ask, but for the respondent, they don't even know. If you ask me, I don't know what it means by beneficial knowledge. Okay, what is skills development? What do you mean by skill development? Pembentukan skill apa? Skill what skill are you referring to? Okay, soft skill ke, hard skill ke? Okay, because now here you got your skill, verbal communication, non-verbal, entrepreneur skill. Okay, because you know, itulah, I mean that I think the problem is because the questions, many of the questions you create on your own lah. And then for example this one, family background. Ni lagi saya tak faham ni. How frequent did your parents spend time with you, daily, weekly? Ni soalan ni you all cipta sendiri ke macam mana ni? Macam mana you all nak kira berapa kerap parents spend masa? satu hari, setiap hari ke, seminggu sekali baru jumpa you all ke? Azwani?
Sir.
Ha.
I mean, because we thought about when parents are not spending times more with the students, so maybe it will affect the performance of students.
Yeah,
So that's why we create that
I
questions.
know about, I mean, spending time with the children, but you don't ask question like this. How do you measure weekly? Ini bukan macam how frequent do you visit website for online shopping. You masuk, itu bolehlah you nak kira kekerapan, tapi you cannot measure how parents, if the parents are staying with you at home, how do you measure that? Itu I think banyak benda yang salah lah dalam soalan ni. Okay, do you have any problems that affect your study, family abuse, financial matters, divorce matters? Saya pun tak tahu lah macam mana you all, tapi for me, even this family background, many of the questions memang, because here you have parents income, okay, and then parent occupation. So how do you actually want to measure in term of, bila some questions are not even, dia tak ada dia punya flow. Suddenly you have the government parent occupation, suddenly you get parent how many hours, I mean how frequent your family members spend time with you. Okay, again lah, benda ni, the main issue, this is nothing to do with economic issues at all, okay? Unless you are focusing on the economic impact on academic performance during COVID-19 ke, okay? Because if the parents are out of job, okay, unemployed, okay, susah nak belajar ke, and the cost of using internet ke, on top up credit, the prepaid ke, whatever lah, okay? How the economic, the increase in the economic impact of COVID-19 on the academic performance ke, that one. But again lah, whatever question that you want to ask, you cannot create on your own. That's what I've been reminding from the early part of the semester, because when you create question on your own, you get problem like this. Okay, the questions are not well structured and it's not easily understood. Okay, ini bukan macam buat survey, you ask opinion like in surat khabar. Okay, so this is because questionnaire for research here is a very technical thing to do. That's why the best way is to use existing questions from good journals, from thesis, online thesis, okay, whatever lah that you can find. Okay, not construct on your own, and especially when you only doing this on the last minute basis. Then as what I mentioned here, this topic is mainly on psychology. Dia tak ada kaitan sangat on unless you are focusing on the economic perspective, on the economic part of the family, how the family economic background, financial background affect the student performance ke. But again lah, whatever that the scope of your ni, you cannot bincang and then create questions from scratch. Okay, ini masalah yang berlaku lah, because when you create questions tanpa ada guideline from, you can add one or two questions from each section, as what I mentioned earlier for this group. Okay, for group number 1. Okay, so these are existing questions, but if you want to add one or two questions related to COVID-19, okay, but make sure that the structure of the questions follow the similar style lah. Okay, you cannot ask new question, but suddenly the structure of the questions, the language, the styling of the sentence is very different from the existing from the previous questions. So any additional question must follow the same style of your questionnaire lah. Okay, so that's why it's important tengok contoh example of this questionnaire, see how people actually construct their questionnaire, the language used, the options to put boxes, to give options, and then how the flow. But usually when you rely on Likert scale, okay, you don't suddenly break from Likert scale and then you go back to question like this type of way of asking question is not appropriate lah. Usually kalau nak buat Likert, for all the section, then maintain Likert scale. This option style box question usually you put in the background, okay, on the background of the study, okay, and then it's easier to have like a consistent flow from part A, from section A, section B, okay. But then banyak benda yang you all kena ubah lah. But for me, one of the main reason is that this topic has little to do on economic or finance issues, okay. It got to do mainly on the psychology, on the social aspect of the student. Okay, you can banyak topik yang you all boleh buat. Why you choose topic that has little connection with the economic, finance, or banking issues. Anything that SAFB is a very big school, so there are many issues related to finance, on budget, on spending, whatever lah. Okay. So topik lagi macam you all bincang on financial divorce matters, family abuse. Okay, this topic kalau you nak discuss even further, ini dah pergi ke bahagian in a different school lah, meaning that not SAB for sure. This belong to the social school and social science school punya topik lah, okay, not our area. So you all kena fikirlah, you all nak macam mana you all nak modify ni, but as it is not the way to move forward lah. Okay, banyak soalan you all cipta sendiri yang tak relevan lah. Okay, and if, lastly for group number 4, okay, impact on the rising cost of living on low income communities in Kedah. Ya, group number 4, siapa group 4 ni? Azrin, Tan, Ani Syuhada and Arik Musyafa. Mana Azrin? Tan? Seorang pun tak ada. Semua dah hilang.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So you all low income community, siapa? The whole of Kedah ke?
B40 community, B40 groups in Kedah.
Okay, but kenapa tak pakai istilah B40 terus? Kan senang, low B40. So how many people are categorized under B40 in the whole of Kedah? You dah dapat dah info tu?
Not yet, sir.
Kan saya dah, benda tu apa, on the B40 of Kedah, because if you're focusing on the B40 of on the B40 groups in Kedah, so you need to know how many, berapa ratus ribu ke, berapa puluh ribu ke of the entire Kedah punya population, how many are registered or categorized under B40. Okay, so that will be your population frame. Okay, and from that number, then you can use the table, the Krejci-Morgan table to determine what is the minimum sample size. Okay, so if you want to focus on the B40 of people in Kedah, then you need to know lah what is the population size for people under B40. You all kena dapatkanlah maklumat tu from the relevant authority lah, from Department of Statistics ke apa ke. So that is one thing lah that you need to get first lah. Okay. So your group punya chapter 2, kenapa you all start dengan empirical reviews? It's supposed to start with theoretical review first. Mana you all punya teori? Kenapa you all tak ada teori? Kan chapter 2 is supposed to have 2 sections. One is the theoretical review. Okay, you put here the others ni. We examine the theoretical and empirical. So where is the theoretical? So you all straight pergi terus ke empirical. So, tak ada pun teori kat sini.
Sorry, sir. One of our group member does not share to me this part, and saya saya submit yang ada. So,
Okay, bukan, tak bolehlah you all nak salahkan grup ni boleh tak hantar. Masing-masing kena tanggungjawab lah because you submit as a group. Okay. Don't evaluate on student. That one is under individual punya project. Okay. Group and individu. Okay, so that is one big missing part lah in your literature review. Okay, saya tak go through in detail lagi lah because yang saya dah dapat dah, tak perlu ada research gap pun. Kenapa you all sampai nak habiskan masa buat research gap? Okay, I mentioned this earlier, no need to have research gap. Okay, nampak sangatlah you all tak dengar saya cakap kat dalam kuliah tu. Okay, so your questionnaire again lah, banyak yang ni pun saya tahu you all cipta soalan sendiri juga kan, bulan 4. You all tak ada pun tajuk depa tu apa. Bila you all nak buat questionnaire, kenalah ada dia punya cover page dia, okay, for something like this lah, okay. What is this study is about what, okay, what is suddenly you all terus pergi kat sini semua, okay. So next kena ada cover page, I mean the ni lah. So yang ni. Mana ada orang berbuat nama, okay, people, you never have questions that ask you to put your name. So this is a no-no lah, okay. Terus saya kata bila you all tak tengok contoh thesis, you all pergilah cipta style you all sendiri. Okay, and here I don't even know where because if you're focusing on B40 in Kedah ada banyak daerah. Kita ada Kubang Pasu, kita ada Gurun, kita ada Yan, kita ada Baling. So which part of your respondent come from? There is no question on the area, okay, dekat mana the residency of the whether the respondent belong in Kubang Pasu ke, okay, tak ada kat sini. And then occupation, okay, usually for question like this you need to specify whether it's government, private, okay, self-owned business ke apa ke. Okay, but even the most important question on the where your sample come from lah, okay, because you are focusing on the whole of Kedah. So which part of the respondent belongs to? Okay, kalau saya orang Kubang Pasu, I want to tick lah that I'm from Kubang Pasu, so that you can analyze, you can see whether the analysis can be divided, can be focused more on where the respondent come from. Okay, tak ada dekat sini. Okay, yang ni. Saya pun tak faham lah semua. Mana ada orang tanya, you cannot ask question in Likert scale in term of question mark, okay. You don't ask question like, since you have to pay more, your purchasing power decreases. Ini you all cipta sendiri semua kan? Group 4.
yes sir.
Kenapa you all tak guna punyalah banyak soalan on income on topic like the increase in cost of living ke, you know, ada saya ingat kalau tak beribu pun ada beratus-ratus questionnaire, I mean thesis, journals on topic on cost of living, okay. Ada cukup banyak, it's just matter of finding the right material lah. But you don't ask questions in legal scale dalam bentuk tanda soal. Okay, ini bukan bertanya soal yes or no because you need to answer agree, strongly agree. So how do you answer? Have you gone into depth? If I say yes or no, so how do you say yes, agree or disagree? Okay. Sama lah ini pun, you don't have any emergency fund in case of something bad happens. So, saya pun tak faham section kamu ni tentang rising cost of living. But what this question got to do with this particular section? You will be unable to save money due to increased expenses and debt commitments. since you have less money after spending it on necessary item. Jadi itulah, saya pun tak faham lah apa benda yang nak tanya ni. Ni semualah ni. There are still many married couples who cannot afford to own a home even though they both working. Ni soalan you all cipta sama-sama masa bila ni you all create soalan ni. Kumpulan 4, kenapa seorang saja yang bersuara, yang lain mana? Tan, Ani Syuhada, Arik, mana yang lain?
Yes.
What do you come up with such questions? Kerana banyak soalan topik on low income, on cost of living. Pun tak tahu lah apalah, itulah. I think for all the 3 groups lah, group 2, 3 and 4, okay, this common problems, okay, on you construct questions on your own. So I think this is where the problem starts. Okay, bila you all cipta soalan sendiri, okay, note based on previous studies, previous journals, previous theses, where you can just directly access, get the common questions related to the issue. Okay, and then you can avoid many of these problems. Okay, because we are already in week number 8. I mean, after mid-semester break, meaning that the focus now actually is to start focusing on your data collection. Okay, meaning that you need around, you know, maybe 100, 200 respondents depending on your population size. What is the minimum sample size that you need to have? Okay, but at the end of the day, even though your respondent will be among your friends, your family members, whatever lah. Okay, but the question must be the actual questions lah. If you were to send the questionnaire to the right people. Okay, for example, your group, you are focusing on B40. Okay, of course, you're not going to send the question to the actual B40 in Kedah, but the questions must be the actual questions lah, not soalan yang respondent dah lah. Saya bagi apa tu, you don't need to ask the actual respondent, but the questions you need to have the actual, I mean the proper questions lah, as though you are asking you are actually sending out the questionnaire to the real respondent. But as it is right now, except for group 1 lah, okay, but group 2, 3 and 4, I think you have a very big problem lah in terms of restructuring your questions. Okay. So, and this at the end of the day will affect lah whatever your analysis. If I can just show you what you can do with your data, okay, using SPSS. Okay, but if the information that you collect from your questionnaire, okay, even though you may end up choosing 5, 4, whatever lah, when you do the data collection on your own, okay, some of you choose 1, choose 5, pick number 4 and 5. But if these questions are wrong questions, okay, that means that the analysis is also wrong lah. Okay, so even though you end up using the wrong questions, okay, you do the analysis, okay, and you get the answer lah from SPSS, because SPSS is just a software. Okay, you throw anything into the program, it just will calculate for you. Okay, but at the end of the day, the information that you get must go back to the questions that you ask. And these questions must be consistent with the research objective and research question that you have in chapter number 1. So I don't even know how you want to link this question with your research questions. Okay, so if you ask the wrong questions, meaning that you cannot answer your research question. And then at the end of the day, it will also affect the measurement or the analysis that you will end up using in your SPSS. Okay, so even though you put in a very nice table and whatnot, okay, but the question is wrong, okay, then the analysis becomes meaningless lah. Okay, so how do I give marks if your questionnaire is wrong from the very beginning and you end up analyzing your data from a questionnaire that is not well constructed. So the information that you get is dah tak betul lah. Okay, it's become very less meaningful lah. Okay, so itu je lah yang saya nak beritahu. You all kena buatlah benda yang saya dah pesan banyak kali, tapi it does seems that okay, you all not being paying attention lah to what I've been telling all this while. Pakai existing questionnaire, tak payah nak penat-penatkan diri. But then now you end up cipta soalan you all pula sendiri. And now you have this problem. Okay, and I cannot wait for you to actually send me the good questionnaire and then I can say proceed. Okay, so whatever that you want to change or modify, okay, you all carry on lah. Okay, saya because by next Thursday, okay, I will focus again lah on the SPSS analysis, what I expect for every group to have in your chapter number 4 in the analysis, and how it actually you must use those method to answer your research questions lah. Okay, and your research objective. Okay, so itulah yang I think the focus for this week and also next week. Okay. Okay, any other questions before I end our video our session for today?